Greetings all. This is the subjectivity presentation for EDSI 9962 for Dr. Pope for spring 2020. We have a series of questions here that we'll cover, and I'll try my best to cover them in depth. The first question here for a research topic is potential research topics for me would be leadership, or how leadership influences culture in low-performing schools. The rationale behind this is that, we have reading programs and other types of software or other types of programs that we add to schools with the hope of changing the academic performance, but in many cases we don't focus on the culture. And as a leader, you have to have the culture right if any types of program are going to be successful. So looking at that, also incorporating professional and personal experiences for me. I've always worked at low-performing schools. I've always worked at Title I schools, and that's part of my bias because I am actually shooting for the underdog there. So I look for big things to happen with the underdog, and that's a definite bias or a personal experience that I have to be aware of. My research position will be that of a grad student researcher, as we seek to put the right leader in the right place at some of these low-performing schools. Explain how these biases and personal experiences influence my viewpoint. Again, I am totally aware of my biases, but what Finley said, we need to be aware of biases of ourselves as dreamers, because I have dreams and I have goals and I want everyone to be successful, especially from those low-performing schools. So we have to consider how it may influence their approach for the research. Also from Finley, being preoccupied by one's own emotions and experiences can skew the data. So I have to be aware of that because, once again, I'm shooting for that underdog. Who I am. Describe how one's position may be viewed by others in the research context. According to Finley, again, reflexivity has the potential to be a valuable tool. Some of the possible labels are the subjective eyes that may influence our approach. For me, the immediate from Peshkin, the subjective eye that jumped out immediately was the pedagogical meliorist, or the situation where you have a very poor teacher in the class with the very low-performing students, and it's just a continuous cycle. So I immediately grasped that one. And then the non-research humanistic eye, which reduces the distance between the self and the researcher, or the self and subject. So sometimes we tend to get too close, and that's just my natural personality, is to get close to others. Also, affordances and limitations present an explanation of the affordances one's position may allow while conducting the research. And I already mentioned this, an affordance or limitation will be getting too close to the subjects. Any power one may have in the research context, the power to anticipate or the power to have our subjects to be successful. And sometimes that could skew data, so I'm a little bit concerned about that as another bias. Consider how this power may influence activities, uses an opportunity to attain the goals. So if I'm going in and I'm battling to make sure the underdog is going to win, I may have skewed data because I may not give the actual data time enough to actually take place. Explain how any power or lack thereof a researcher may have in a research contest may limit their activities in completing a research project, and that would be anticipatory and rooting for the underdog again. Consider how activities and behaviors may need to be modified, and this would be along the lines of just subjects viewing my position. How would they view me, or if I were to get too close to them, would they give me a true read as far as me capturing notes and data, memoing? So would they give me that true number or true read? A scholar in training, describe how subjectivity has influenced their approach to being a scholar in training. Prepare to address the biases, and I think I have to do that by every time I feel myself getting out of whack, I have to capture those moments and go back and correct the data. Explain how the researcher will remain aware of his biases, preconceptions, and personal experiences during the time as a scholar in training, memoing, and note-taking. Thank you very much.